2 years ago, I was on Hinge and I was trying to talk with people before I moved here. Sounds genius to get a jump on, you know, the dating pool or whatever, and kind of make it an easier transition from one location to another if you already have some dates lined up. Don't do that. Anyways, I was doing that. But I was doing it for the purpose of like learning about what people were like. I had learned a lot from where I lived mainly my whole life, and then moving to the desert. I learned that the culture between where I lived my whole life and the people in the desert, totally different. I didn't want to be taken off guard like that again, and I wanted to learn ahead of time the types of mindsets that I was going to encounter and the types of cultural normalities or whatever, if they were going to be different than mine. I wanted to like know that up front. Plus, I wasn't fully sold on being in a specific city. So my little experiment of 6 months out before I moved there, it was like, I'm just gonna kind of see if there's like a definite place that I should totally avoid, based upon the people that I talk with or whatever. But at the same time, I didn't know that my results of telling people in my profile that I was not there and I wasn't going to be there for quite a bit of time yet still. I didn't know that my my information that I was giving out in my profile would only contact me and hook me up with a bunch of weird people that would say yes. So all the normal people didn't want to be in that situation of a long-term waiting game. Do you see what I mean? So it was skewing my results, and I didn't really put 2 and 2 together until much later. But that's why I'm telling you, don't do that. But anyways, I gathered some evidence and I was like, I don't know if this is the best place to have dates with people. And I was getting really discouraged. But like a month out, I was like, well, it's getting less weird if they want to establish a little bit of a connection with me. It's getting less weird to just wait a month. Like who the hell can't wait like 4 weeks to like go on a date with somebody? That's relatively normal kind of time period. 6 months, not normal. One month, okay. It's still a little bit weird, but okay. So I matched with this person about a month before I was supposed to leave. I was excited about their personality. They were like little firecracker. They were like a mix between like a snarky guy and like this guy that was super intelligent, but like kind of reserved and elegant too. If you can be like those types of things rolled up into one guy, that's what he was. And he was classy and he was grown up and he had great understanding of what it took to be a scrappy individual, because he had side hustles too. He understood that you shouldn't just rely on one form of income, because that can be pulled out from under you at any point. So you should always diversify. So he understood at the same time the need to do that, but like what it took personality wise and what it took follow through wise in order to make that happen, because he had a little bit of a side hustle too. And like, so I liked him because he was scrappy, but also like sexy and kind of sophisticated, but witty. So he was great, and he had wild, crazy hair, and he had blue eyes, and he was just attractive in like a lot of ways. And I was excited about him, and he was excited about me, and so we would talk on the app, and then we moved off the app. So then we found ourselves having like long conversations on the phone, like pretty quickly. We had like a 4-hour phone conversation, and I just remember that I was chopping garlic. This is not a useful piece of context, but that's what I was doing. I chopped garlic. I chopped all of my garlic that I'd bought that day, and I put it in the freezer. This was before I realized that you could just go to Trader Joe's and get those little cubes where you can pop out the garlic, but I was doing it manually. I was doing it the long way. I bought some organic garlic and I was chopping it up, and I was on the phone with him so long that I ran out of garlic to chop. I chopped up all of my little heads of garlic. Then I chopped up all of my little pieces of ginger, and so I had a bag of ginger and a bag of garlic perfectly chopped up into little cubes. And I just remember talking to him for a long time about various things that were super interesting. And a light bulb went off in my brain that was like, this is somebody this is like, bookmark this type of person, bookmark this particular person. This person's interesting. So I don't know how this came about, but he mentioned to me that his like best friends don't live around him. His best friends are in different states. So he was kind of like used to being kind of like by himself, doing his own thing, and then keeping the connection with his long distance relationships. He was good at doing that because he would use different modalities. He would FaceTime people, like his best friends, but he would also use this app that was similar to Snapchat, but it was different. It was kind of like more grown up and less kind of sketchy than Snapchat, but it had like the same kind of premises of like, you kind of record yourself doing something or a message for somebody, and then you press send and it sends that and they can watch it at any point in time, right? It's like, but then erases or something like that. So it was to ease the burden of contacting your long distance people like often, but it was like to keep the connectivity by being able to like see them often. Like my friend Abigail and I, we just send messages on Snapchat all the time because I can see her face and she can see mine, but she can do it at her own time because she's got 2 kids, right? Like she can't just always FaceTime me forever. So this is a way that she can see my face and I see hers, but then you can open it whenever. So it was around that kind of idea, but it was different than Snapchat. But I was thinking that it was very similar to Snapchat, and I was like, oh, this is really great. Like this is a way that we can get to know each other without having it to be like really kind of high stakes of just FaceTiming, because that's kind of scary. Even though we just had 4-hour conversation, like it's still scary to like FaceTime somebody that you don't know, you've never met. Like what if it gets weird? And you can see that it's weird on their face. It's easier through phone, or it's easier through text to just navigate that, but it's kind of a disaster if you can see their discomfort, or you get uncomfortable and all that stuff, you understand. So I was like, let me get that app and I'll send you some whatevers. They're not snaps, I just kind of forget what they were called. So anyways, he sends me some and I opened them and I was like, oh, this is fun. I really messed up and I didn't know how to use this app, and I didn't like look up tutorials because I'm usually pretty good with technology. And like I thought that I was gonna be pro at this app because I was pretty used to like how Snapchat worked. Like I'm not dumb. I used to be a social media specialist. Like the things that I knew about how to use social media or a social media related type of app, like it just seemed more or less intuitive. I was wrong about this. I was super wrong about this app. I thought that it was going to work like I recorded a video and I could watch the video back on my own time before I sent it to that person. No, once I pushed reply and I pushed like record, there was no watch back time. It was just once I was done holding the record button, it sent it immediately to him. And I didn't know that. And so like I literally went like this. I recorded what I thought was gonna be like this sexy little thing that was kind of like get to know me, but witty and sexy and kind of playful. And then I realized that it was sending to him in real time. I panicked and faced it. I didn't know how to stop it. I faced it toward the ceiling because I panicked. I was like, I couldn't just like let him watch my panicked face. So I didn't know how to unsend. I didn't know anything about this app. And I didn't know that it was like doing this. It was such like a moment. My heart was dropping as it was happening, and I panicked. I didn't know what to do. And so it was sending to him. Like I sent it to him, and you can tell when the person opens it. And I saw that he opened it and I was like, oh my God. So I tried to send him like, haha, like I just messed up. I sent another one like that to him. I sent him 2 in a row that was like horribly embarrassing. Like so embarrassing because he saw both times my panic. He saw what I did with the panic, and he saw that it was like 2-minute long because I didn't know how to stop it. It was like never ending. It was like the most cringy thing that I've ever done technology wise to a person I was trying to establish like this flirty relationship with. Like, who cares if I would have done that to like my friends or whatever? We would have just laughed. It was embarrassing, especially after we'd had like a 4-hour conversation where it was like, this is great, this is going good. I knew obviously that this was bad when he pretended like it was fine, but it was like not fine. And like, we didn't really talk too much after I did those embarrassing things. Like, I tried to like just be like, I didn't mean to do that. But it was just, I don't know, it was just a bad look. And like, what are you supposed to do? It was just embarrassing, like really embarrassing. It wasn't like I just did like a little bit of embarrassing. I did a lot of embarrassing, and it was recorded on video in front of somebody that I was trying to impress. Can't hammer that home enough, but this was the most embarrassing thing that I could have done. Like, besides like accidentally like recording myself like pooping or something, like this was right up there. So twice in a row, and I saw him open it, and then I just deleted that app because I was like, never again. Fool me twice. So after he kind of saw that I didn't know what I was doing, he like kind of tried to make light of it, but then we kind of never spoke after that. Like, it was really sad because there was so much potential, but we were kind of crash and burn anyways. Like, there was, you can always tell that when like you meet somebody that you mesh well with. Like, if you don't temper it and like kind of like pull the reins back a little bit and allow yourself to have a tiny bit of this, you might crash and burn, because that's just what happens. I don't know, that's what happens with me. People really like me, they like to consume me a lot, the experience of me a lot, and then they get so like, I don't know, saturated with the experience that it's so overwhelming because it's so intense. They're just like, I can't do this. This is unsustainable. Instead of biting off a little bit and experiencing a little bit in a sustainable way that like evens out how intense the connection is. Yeah. Anyways, this was destined for crash and burn, but it didn't have to be crash and burn so embarrassing. It didn't have to be so cringy, and it didn't have to go like this. Like, we didn't really have anything bad happen. It was just, we both mutually saw that this was very cringe and this was embarrassing, and there was no coming back from this, because at this point in time it's very delicate, and I don't even live there yet. We haven't even gone on a real date and it's already this bad. Can you imagine? So like, yeah, somebody could just be like, well, I don't really care, I still want to meet you. That's not what happened. So I tried to kind of fix it, and then I just saw that he was like crickets, and so I became crickets too. So I moved here. I didn't tell him that I eventually moved here. I even got Hinge maybe about 6 months after I first moved here, and I would see him in my card deck because he was within my mileage range of where I actually ended up, and I would see him pop up, and I was like, ugh, damn it. It was like torturous. It was like, this is my unfinished business, and I was like, oh, I just wish it wouldn't have ended like that. Click no. So I had to do that, click no, 5 times before I just eventually stopped seeing him, because eventually I just got tired of Hinge, and I just transitioned to just purely using Tinder, because most of the people, like I said, if you watch my previous videos, they were not on Hinge in my area, they were on Tinder. So anyways, he was only on Hinge, so I only had to see him on Hinge, and he would just pop up. So I'd say no every time, and it was like, ugh, reliving that. But it's not like I was like super damaged by this, but it was just like this one little instance of this memory of this person where it was like very embarrassing for me. And I don't tend to be that way with people. Like, you know, most of the time it just kind of fizzles out and it's like whatever. This was like a specific embarrassing thing that I did, in front of somebody that was trying to like, I really liked him. He had tons of potential. He was great, but it just ended up really bad. So anyways, I hadn't thought of him for like a full year because, like I said, I didn't get Hinge, but I also just don't think about him. He was like 4 days experience in my life, and it was just like, okay. I don't pine after him or anything. So it wasn't like I knew today was going to be the day that I contacted him. How do we go from that cringy moment where I haven't thought about him in even a year, never mind spoken to him, to actually like willingly messaging him unprompted for like no reason? It's not like I had a question for him and only he could answer. That didn't happen. What did happen was I was eating my breakfast, as I do, at my stool, and this morning at my bar, and I was watching YouTube videos, and for whatever reason, I was recommended from YouTube's algorithm, I was recommended this video that was like things that no guy should wear in 2024. And I was like, I'm not a dude, but I'm a reseller and I still do like reselling. And so maybe I should not pick up things that are on that list. I should be in the know. And so I like to gather evidence and gather information and gather useful little tips. And so I thought, okay, I'm gonna click on this. And I didn't even think anything of the creator, but it soon became clear that this creator reminded me of this guy. He didn't really look like him physically, but he had the same vibe as him. He had the same confidence and kind of like, not really pompous attitude, but he had like this quiet confidence of like, I'm gonna present my ideas and I'm going to present them with confidence as like they're just factual and you can do what you want with them. Like, I'm not trying to be persuasive, I'm just trying to present them as I see them. And it was just like intoxicating because I was like, I've seen this kind of thing before. I remember it from that dude, the dude that had wild hair and blue eyes. And that was a really cringe moment. That cringe moment, guy, we both ghosted each other. I haven't seen this since that dude. And it reminded me of that dude. And I was like, I have a burning desire to send this video to that guy for whatever reason. Cause like he even dressed, like his mannerisms and the way that he described how guys should dress was very similar to how that guy dressed. And so I was like, maybe he actually appreciate this. This was my quick thinking before I overthought it. And I don't tend to be an overthinker, by the way. So I couldn't have spontaneously sent this video to this guy that we've been ghosting for 2 years if I would have been an overthinker. I think that's direct proof that I'm not an overthinker when it comes to this. So I immediately thought this was a great idea. The guy had similar hair to the guy that I talked to that ghosted me and I ghosted back. And I thought today would be a great day to send this video to him and just be like, I have no idea why I'm sending this to you, but I am. And I have no idea why I'm telling this to you, but I am. And that's all I wanted to tell you. Here's the video. Do what you want with it. That was my comeback. That was my like opening the door that was closed before. I had no idea if it would even send, because like he has an iPhone, so I can tell if he'd like blocked me. So I had no idea what would happen. It's kind of presumptuous after 2 years that he would even want to like receive something from me. It's not like I said something sexual or like said something like suggestive as if we should continue to talk. It was just like, here's a video that made me think of you and why, and I'm just gonna say it in this kind of like strange little intriguing way, and hopefully you respond. And I don't really have a plan after that. I had a strong desire to send this to you for some reason today, to open up this dialogue with you today. I had some desire to do that for whatever reason, even though the last interaction I had with you was very cringe on my part, and I just kind of like want to forget about it for the rest of my life. It was that bad. I've had embarrassing things happen to me, but that, number one, I think that was very top on my list out of all the things that I've done. So anyways, that's what I was thinking. I was like, okay. I didn't think that this was going to solve any problems. I had no anticipation or premeditative anything about this. I just had this burning desire to send this to him and deal with it later. And like I said, I'm not usually like that. And like, I don't usually have the desire to stir up things that are left alone. They've been left alone for 2 years. Why the hell today? So anyways, I just remember that he was like interesting, and like this type of personality doesn't come around a lot. And so I guess the creator just reminded me that this was a unique individual. And that's all. I just wanted to tell him like, hey, in my own like way. And so I messaged him, and then I wasn't really nervous because like I said, if he blocked me and never even got the message, like I was already at a low point anyway, like didn't really care. I didn't really intend to have anything happen from it, so I really didn't care. And so like I had no game plan. There was no end game. So even if nothing happened, I didn't really care. Like I was already at the lowest point that you could be with a person. So like it was very low risk because it was already, all the risk was already taken before, and it like went to hell. So anyways, like I was a little bit nervous, but I took a shower. I didn't get anything back from him. I started eating, and all of a sudden I got like a message from him, and I was like, oh my God, he read it. Oh my God, he didn't block me. But also like he actually reacted pretty well. He like started laughing at like what I'd said. And then we had like this interesting kind of like little conversation about stuff. And it was starting to get kind of stupid. It was like, hey, how are you? Long time no talk. And I was like, look, I like stopped that completely. And I was like, look, I don't have an ulterior motive here. I'm not trying to start something. That wasn't why I messaged you. I don't know why I messaged you, but I just had to tell you. But I don't have an ulterior motive to like start a little intrigue back up, but I'm not opposed to that, but I'm not trying to do that. Like I was that clear. And so it was just kind of like this interesting little like moment of intrigue in my life that was unplanned, which I guess is different for me because I'm always very like calculated when it comes to that. And the word calculated from a woman, like having a woman like say that, usually is negative connotation, but I don't think it's negative. I just think it as like I'm really end game strategy kind of fixated. Not fixated, that makes it sound bad too. It's none of this is bad. It's just like I usually have this one with intentions, and today it was like I had no intentions for this to happen, but it was just happening anyways, and I couldn't even stop myself from doing it. I actually had to like look in my contacts on my phone and like purposely type in his name to like message him. It wasn't like I just scrolled through my recents or whatever. He wasn't in my recents. It's been too long. So like I had to do a lot of intentional like trying to contact him, but like what was happening was just kind of spontaneous and unplanned, right? Like that is different for me. I had no end game with him. I wasn't trying to start up an intrigue. I didn't even know if he was single, right? Like I didn't know anything, but we were having like this nice little conversation back, and it was just like he seemed to enjoy that I contacted him out of the blue, and he seemed to enjoy that like I was creating this weird little intrigue of like, why are we talking today, and my non-reasons why. Basically what I'm trying to say is it ended nicely. It ended like, hey, I don't have a purpose for this, and I just wanted to tell you this, and that's it. And we're gonna leave it at that. I'm gonna go now. I'm gonna see myself out now. So I said bye to him before it even like stalled into something kind of awkward. I just was like, bye. Hi and bye. It was like a hit and run. It was like this weird little like opening up of intrigue and then closing up of intrigue, but like for like no purpose. And that's what made it intriguing. Usually there's like this purpose, this motivation for things, but I just had this strong desire and I just followed through on it without overthinking it. Anyways, so what happened was I ended up feeling good about him. I reworked in my head, even though we stopped talking, and there's no plan to keep talking with him. It's reworked how I felt about that individual in my life. The last event that I had with that person was not good. It was negative. And so whenever I thought about him, which was almost never, I would think about it negatively. And now whenever I think about him, it's going to be reworked to this funny little weird interaction that we had over breakfast that was kind of intriguing and it was kind of witty, but it was also kind of like, I ended things kind of nicely, right? Like it was, I saw that he was willing to engage with me and it wasn't like cringy. I don't know. I'm over explaining it, but it was a pivotal moment for me because it reworked how I felt about him. And I didn't know that it was just that easy. I don't think that you always need to contact the other person in order to rework how you feel about a specific experience in your life. But in this particular case, it really did help. And I think sometimes that's not therapeutic to do, but in this case, it was. That was a totally unintended consequence of this, that I ended up feeling good about this person that was in my library of people that I've interacted with now. There's like intrigue and stuff now, when before there was just cringe and embarrassment and untapped potential that would never be tapped, right? Like, I don't even need a promise that that's going to resurrect in order to feel good about things. Like, it just already feels good. We had a good interaction that wasn't like how it was at the end. And that's all I needed. I think what I'm going to take away from this is not that the ending is repeatable. I do know that if I contacted other people that have ghosted me randomly and even tried to like have like an intriguing little moment with them, that it wouldn't, I don't think it would really rework anything about how I felt about them. Like I can pick like 2 or 3 other people that I've had bad kind of endings with, and I have no desire to do that with them. So I don't think this is a repeatable like technique that you can use to like fix tiny little moments in your life. I think the take home was like, I listened to my instincts on this, and even my instincts are normally to like interact with guys in a totally different way, not spontaneously, not because I felt like it, not because I wanted to in the moment, and not because I followed through on that in the moment. I don't know, I just had this burning desire to like share that I was thinking about him right then. Yeah. But to like own the narrative later, it was like, I don't really have any idea of why I'm contacting you. And I'm okay with that. I'm not expecting you to do anything with that, but I just need you to know that I was thinking about you, and that's kind of it. Yeah. It's hard because the lesson also isn't that just don't give a fuck about getting hurt or creating more problems for yourself by opening up closed doors. Like, this is not a good thing to be doing. Like, I didn't need to go poke this long dead thing. It's not hurting me in any way. I'm not really even thinking about him. But the good that came out of it was worth the risk, and I didn't even know the risks. I didn't calculate the risks. because I just didn't. So like, normally I talk about things that you can understand, and this is like a very feeling-y thing, and it's not something that's like analytical, and it's not something that even makes sense, because it's even hard to just explain why the outcome was good. And it's hard to explain why you can't really repeat this, why you shouldn't repeat this. It's very individual. I have other instances where I have unfinished business where it went wrong with other people, and I would not do this with them. Those doors are meant to be closed. I will not be opening them. I will not be knocking on their door 2 years later with this little thing that said like, I'm thinking about you now, but I don't need you to do anything with it. Like, I don't even need to open that door. But I felt like the door was okay to open with this person. I'm having a hard time with this video, and I'm not having a hard time because of like how embarrassed I was about the story, the plot line of telling you about the context of everything, like the vulnerability that I'm sharing. Like, I'm not having any hard time with that whatsoever. Like, I've told you way worse things, and I'm not embarrassed whatsoever to like tell you these things. I'm having a hard time because it's hard to convey the pivotal moment. But I feel a pivotal moment in this particular situation. There's something about this situation that I haven't picked apart yet that was like, there's something here. And like, it's not the technique of knocking on doors that are like a long time closed. That's not the pivotal moment. That is not the take-home point that you should go do that. It's not even that you should tell people randomly when you think about them. That is not the take-home point. There's something else that I haven't thought of yet, but it's really bothering me because I'm like, there's something just so positive about what happened today that I can't put my finger on it. But I want to incorporate this more into my life. It's like the allowing of intrigue to happen and not following so many rules about risk versus reward. It's like also understanding when it's the right situation to throw those rules out. It's super complicated about why this is such an important take-home point for me and such a pivotal moment for me. And it's because it's complicated that it's hard to say why it's positive in one particular thing. And it's hard to relay to you because it's hard for me to even understand, because there's no like thing that I can say, do this and you're going to have similar experience, you know, like advice that people love to take. And I'm not trying to make videos for advice, but it's good if I express to you, hey, this thing that I learned about life, you can maybe take it and do what you want with it, and maybe you can have a similar outcome. This is not that easy to just serve you up, hey, you can maybe do this. This is trying to express this is trying to express to you, once you learn about your rules, then you can learn about the exceptions to the rules, and then you can apply that desire to ignore the rules and desire to ignore what you normally follow, and you can kind of not care or care about the outcome, and maybe a good outcome can present itself, and maybe you can experience that. I think I'm having a hard time because most of the time pivotal moments are like grand things, and this pivotal moment is like one teeny little part of a mindset shift, of allowing life to have wiggle room, to ignoring the rules that you generally follow, but not just ignoring the rules and being reckless. It's ignoring the rules because your intuition tells you so, and you're getting a good vibe from it, but like, why the hell are you getting a good vibe from it? I don't know how to express when to do it versus not to do it. But I do know that there's rules set in place that you generally follow so that your life doesn't fuck up. But there's intuition that comes into play, and there's like general street smarts and like just intelligence in general that allows you to realize that an opportunity might be there to do something that you don't normally do. I think this is the whole take-home point. It's like allowing a win to happen when a loss was already on the books. Allowing a rework to happen. But it's bigger than that. Like, it doesn't even need to be about a loss or a win. It's just like knowing when in life that there's wiggle room because you've experienced so much life. But knowing that your rules in general are rules that you should follow. But like knowing that sometimes intuition makes it so that you can ignore the rules. But how do you get good intuition? You just have good life. You analyze life and you start to gain intuition. Or like, no, that's wrong. Intuition is following your gut instincts, but like listening to your gut instincts. That's intuition, I feel. I didn't really like look up the definition of instincts, but I think that that's right. Gain instinct over time by gaining experience listening to your inner something. I don't even know what to call it, but it's different than life experience. And it like literally doesn't make any sense. Rules are very analytical and make sense. Like intuition is kind of like wishy-washy sometimes. And so like that's why it was difficult for me to tell you like the take-home point of this. It's like I don't recommend contacting people that you haven't talked to for 2 years and opening that door. That door should be probably closed. Cause like, can you even really take it if like he just responds negatively to you? And do you even want to open that door? There's a reason why it didn't work out to begin with. But there's something about today. There's something about what happened, and there's something about the way in which it happened that's like a take-home point for me, because it just feels overall good, and I don't know how to express that. I don't know how to like tell you that today feels pivotal, but today feels pivotal not because of what particularly happened with him, but because I didn't follow what I normally follow. I allowed life to play. I allowed exceptions to the rule because I saw that there was an exception to the rule. And there were certain things that I knew as truths. There was nothing that could be done by him that would lower the experience that I've already had. I was already at my lowest level of cringe or embarrassment or, you know, we're never gonna talk again. We were already not talking. The cringe had already happened. The embarrassment had already happened. You can't, like the experience was already at its lowest form, right? Like if he didn't contact me back from what I said, it couldn't really touch anything anymore. It was already at its lowest form. So like no risk, who cares? There was only upside. I'd already anticipated actually to keep following the downside. But I allowed the upside, the opportunity to happen by opening the door. I don't know. It's difficult to express because it was almost as if it had nothing really to do with him, and it more or less had to do with me letting go of like outcomes. But understanding that the outcomes even whatever did happen wasn't really going to affect me too badly anyways. There was only upside. Do you see that? Anyways, this might get like a little bit too woo-woo, but like this just happened today, and it feels pivotal, like I said, but it feels pivotal, like bigger than this moment. And I keep trying to express it, but it's hard for me because I don't know how to really pinpoint why it's pivotal. But it has to do with knowing there was nothing to lose. It has to do with knowing when to ignore my rules, but it has to do with knowing when to ignore the rules. The exception to the rule was to take this opportunity right now because I felt instinctually that this was something I could and wanted to do. Genuinely, I wanted to contact him, but it was for no purpose. All of those things feel really important in this outcome. And that is the pivotal moment. Not that the outcome was good. Not that I decided to make this choice. Not that I contacted a person that I had unfinished business with. It's like bigger than that, but it's still hard to like express. I don't know. Maybe I'm gonna be done trying to express that today. And it's hard because like usually I try to like wrap up something concisely because it's something that I understand. But the more that I try to understand my behavior and behavior of others, the more that I understand that it's not so wrapped up in a box, in a bow. This might come as a shock to you, but like the other day when I made that video about my whole like sexual transformation of like what I'm doing purposely with people, like it didn't occur to me that I was doing that in such a purposeful way until I made that video. But I'd been doing the same actions over and over and over again, feeling intentional, but not really knowing to that degree why I was doing that for years. And after I did that video is when I realized that I didn't really need to be doing it in such a cut and dry way anymore. I'd learned not to lose myself. I'd had enough experience to not lose myself if I allowed some love connection to happen with somebody. I think I've understood that it's not, I've created enough distance from my negative habits by doing it so steadfast and following my rules that I've allowed a little bit of playroom now. It wasn't so if I try to have sex with somebody and I decided to love them that I would just sacrifice everything anymore. And so I didn't have to be so like hard on myself that I only had to follow these rules. It wasn't until I made that video that I really realized that I had these rules and I'd been following them for years while I was doing this whole dating thing. And like today is the first day that I'm realizing that if I can explain my rule to somebody and I can explain exactly why I'm doing it and like how I did it and like the outcome of all that, and it's been years later, I'm probably ready to have some exceptions to the rule. And that is the play. That is where my intuition can come into play and not follow my if this, then that, and that's the outcome that I want. I can allow some things to happen on that continuum that I don't follow a rule for, but I will keep my rule as a way to allow for structure. My rules are there for a reason, but I can allow through experience of reforming my habit I can allow for experience, my plant just fell over. I can allow for experience to teach me different ways in order to react. And once I've had enough ways in order to react, besides my totally toxic way that I used to react, I have room now to do a different way of doing things. I don't need to have my behavior follow just do this to get this outcome. I can vary my behavior a little bit, but if I ever get off track again, I know how to rework my behavior. Just go back and follow the rule again. Maybe that's what today was about. I don't know. But it seemed really pivotal and it seemed connected. And I just wanted to talk about it because it's kind of exciting. I sort of thought that like after I had my hey, this is why I revamped my sex life kind of like epiphany verbally on this channel, that I wasn't gonna really have any like light bulb moments for like a while, because that took me years to get to, and like that seemed pretty big of why I did things the way that I did, and unpacking all that in like a video was great. But I didn't think that like there was any kind of like entanglement like kind of like left in me. Like what the hell is the next step after you already know that? Like acceptance? Like who cares? Why are you talking about that? So like this to me is like the next level. This to me is like, what do you do with your behavior once you've become super aware? You become super aware, you can talk about it with other people, you can express to other people the good and the bad about it, and then you can express to people moving forward, you're gonna learn from things, blah, blah, blah. And so it becomes kind of something that other people can take from. It becomes not just within yourself, it becomes something that somebody can use as something helpful. But it starts in my brain, right? It starts in my brain and then it turns into something else. But for me, this is difficult because this seems like, for me, what happened today seems like it's not ready for somebody else to use yet, because I've gotten to a place in my understanding about my behavior that when new things happen, I immediately know that they're pivotal moments. And like, I didn't even realize this like when I was talking about the pivotal moment earlier. I didn't realize this. You saw it throughout the entire video, and that's kind of like electrifying and amazing. You saw me rework this whole entire thing. I was like, why am I having problems with this? Why am I having problems expressing this to somebody else? And it's because it's not a cut and dry, easy to explain thing, but it's not an easy to digest thing, but it's not easy to just take from thing. It's more complicated. It's the next level of understanding yourself. It's like when you see behavior and you see an outcome and you realize that you're leveled up. You realize that you don't need black and white anymore just to rework your bad, toxic behaviors that you used to have. I'm saying this so not well for somebody to listen to, but what keeps popping up in my brain as like, express this, express this, express this, this is really important, is that I deviated from my black and white rules. I said in the beginning, I normally don't interact with guys in this way where I'm just willy-nilly doing something just because I felt it strongly. I don't interact with guys that way. That was a rule that I followed. It wasn't like a rule that I wrote down and it was like, don't do this, don't do that. It was like, I intuitionally, I don't let things impact me when it comes to guys. I follow black and white things when it comes to guys. Because I needed more analytical guidelines than wishy-washy intuition. Does that make any sense? But I followed intuition today because I understood that I could follow my intuition and the consequences were near zero. There was only upside if I did it, and there wasn't a lot of risk, and it allowed for play. But it created intrigue, but it allowed for play. I don't know. I feel like I'm beating a dead horse here. But it was important. Today was important, and it was bigger than I contacted somebody for the first time in 2 years. Basically, I contacted somebody for the first time in 2 years, and it changed everything about how I felt about my life. Because I realized that I don't need steadfast rules anymore. I do need them, but I don't need to follow them so strictly when it comes to guys. I think I was limiting myself, and I am limiting myself, but it was a limiting myself that I needed to have. I needed to learn in my own way how to not lose myself completely when it came to having a romantic relationship with somebody. And I needed that complicated way of like understanding how to keep my individuality, but to also experience what it was like to connect with a guy. So that, yeah. Anyways, my voice hurts. I've talked too much. This is gonna be a nightmare to edit. So, this is the realist at its finest. This is like me understanding myself in real time for you to watch. Hopefully that's enjoyable. Maybe it's not. And like, that's okay for me too. Like, its intended purpose is to like be enjoyable in some way to you. But like, honestly, this is really important for me personally on my own development. And so if that's the only thing that is good about this video, I'm just gonna take it. What is this hair? I don't know. I'm gonna go walk on the treadmill now for an hour and just relax. I don't know. This is what I do with my Friday nights. I try to understand myself more. I feel like I have to be done for today. We're gonna conclude this in a non-conclusive way, which I guess is very apropos for this video. Thank you for watching. I'll see you again in my next video. Take care. Have a great weekend.